Look back on the past with a smile and move forward with what you have learned that will give God the glory. Nashville pianist Jason Coleman believes there's more to playing the piano than just melodies and rhythms. The connections between music and memories, piano and family are inseparable. And as a grandson of piano legend Floyd Cramer, it's only natural that the timeless music of days gone by would find new life in Jason's fingers. Although Jason was only 12 years old when Floyd passed away, their close relationship formed the foundation upon which Jason has built his own career in the studio and on stage. This is his story. This is today's Nashville. This is faith. Jason, I have been wanting you on my show for a long time. Welcome to today's Nashville.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
You have quite a past, Nashville pianist, but your grandfather taught you how to play the piano.
He did. I suppose I come from good stock. I've born and raised here in Nashville, and I'm thankful to have known Floyd Cramer as my granddad. He's one that, you know, any country music fan, especially of that early Nashville sound era, is going to recognize his name and his hits. And it's even for folks who don't know Floyd Cramer by name have heard his music because he played on all of those iconic Elvis Presley and Patsy Cline and Roy Orbison and Brenda Lee, all the records in the 50s and 60s he was a part of. And so I'm fortunate to have grown up playing beside him on the piano bench, and now get to spend my time and my career playing piano and trying to bring new life to the style that he left behind.
Well, what was it like growing up with him?
Yeah, so I was 12 when he passed away as a child, but up until then we were very close. I mean, more than anything, people, you know, ask that same question. What was it like having Floyd Cramer as your grandfather? And for me, more than anything though, he was just granddad. And that's always been most important to me to think back, you know, because even when I was a kid, I remember he was out, he was in the studio recording all the time. He was out on the road all the time, you know, playing tour dates, and people still loved him. He was still very active in his career. And I remember being a part of some of those things. I'd go with him and visit the studio and sit and listen. My family and I would go out on the road with him and you know, watch him perform in front of all these crowds. But that's not what sticks out the most to me. What sticks out the most is that he was just my granddad. And you know, my little brother and I and my cousins, we just would go to grandma and granddad's house and spend the night. And like any grandkids would do, you stay up late, and later than you can stay up at home with your own mom and dad and eat all the junk food you want to eat and
right.
Sleep in and just had a good time. And so that's what I look back on as a kid and remember the most about Floyd Cramer, is that he wasn't Floyd Cramer. He was just granddad. You know, it's been since he passed away, as I've gotten older, that I've really come to, you know, appreciate his impact and his legacy. And, you know, it was after he passed away too that he was inducted into both the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which he's only one of about, I don't know, a dozen people inducted into both the Rock Hall and the Country Hall of Fame. And so, you know, as I've gotten older, I came to really realize just beyond him being a famous piano player, is what I knew as a kid, that he was truly, you know, one of the most influential musicians here in Nashville, especially to be a part of that. And so, but looking back, he was your granddad.
Did you know he was famous at the time?
I mean, I knew he was famous, but I don't think I knew, well, I didn't know as a kid. You know, you can't really know all the history and everything that he was a part of. You know, I knew that people loved his music and that he made people happy with his music and that he was a great piano player. We always had in the car, I mean, the soundtrack of my life as a kid was Floyd Cramer on cassette tape in our car. And I knew it's funny, I knew more songs that were just timeless, familiar songs everybody knows. I knew them from him playing them on the piano more than I knew them from the original artist playing them. You know, as far as I was concerned, all of these great songs that he would play, that he would cover on the piano, were his songs, not, you know, all the original famous songs. In gospel music as well, I knew more gospel songs from what he played on piano more than I even knew them singing them myself.
Was he strong in his faith?
He was. I'm thankful for my granddad, all my grandparents, parents who have grown up in a family of faith. That's all I've known from the very beginning is faith. We were in church, as kids, but it went a lot deeper than that. In that it was always a house full of love, full of laughter, and just full of trust. He grew up. My grandma and he grew up in Arkansas and met. Once my grandma was 18 and he'd moved to the town, or my grandma had moved to his town where he grew up, and they met. But my grandma tells even her grandfather was a Free Will Baptist preacher in a little church in Arkansas, and so it goes deep in my roots on both sides, and I'm thankful to have had that foundation from all my grandparents.
How did he get to Nashville?
Well, yeah, so Granddad grew up in a little town. It was Huttig, Arkansas, right across the Louisiana border, and grew up playing piano himself just from an early age. And grew up playing the Louisiana Hayride radio show after he graduated high school. I think he was supposed to be at college, and his mom and dad found out that he was not in class and wondered where he was. He was actually off making music. He was playing Louisiana Hayride, backing up artists that would come through that iconic radio show. And then it was after he met and married my grandma on their 1-year wedding anniversary. This was in 1955, I believe it was. They packed up and moved to Nashville. Not a whole lot more than just the hope of some more work to come.
The dream. The Nashville dream.
It was the dream. And he had gone back and forth for some sessions they were living in Shreveport at the time, doing the Louisiana Hayride down there in Shreveport, Louisiana. And he had gone back and forth for some recording sessions. Chet Atkins had sort of identified him as an up-and-coming talent and told him if he moved to Nashville, he thought he could get him some more work. And so he did, and they moved. They said all they had were their clothes, and they had a TV on their, bringing a TV with them just so they had something to do, I guess, once they got here. But it was, I think, the next day after they moved to Nashville, he had a session with the Carter family, and it was later that same year he played on Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis, and the list just went on and on from there, and he began to establish himself as sort of the go-to piano player here in Nashville.
I heard that he was friends with Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson and their family, it was Michael Jackson's mother loved Floyd Cramer. And it's funny, we've heard of that from, artists and entertainers and celebrities who you would never imagine would have known him. So it was in the 80s that Granddad got a call randomly from the Jackson family asking if he could come out to California and be the surprise special guest performer for, it was Michael Jackson's mother's birthday. I remember if it was her, what anniversary or what birthday it was, but so they flew my granddad and my grandma out all the way to, I guess it was the ranch out there in California, and Michael introduced Granddad as the big surprise guest, and we have, I think, some video, and they had a news article about it at the time of Floyd Cramer being the surprise, and he played a couple of songs, and Michael sang a couple with him. So, but it's neat. It's like no matter who it is, whether it's just even people still today that have a story for his songs and remember every song he played has a special meaning to somebody different, and even someone like Michael Jackson and the Jackson family. You never know how far the music's gonna reach.
That's amazing. And because of your grandfather, you are playing a lot, touring, playing the piano, Grand Ole Opry, and it started your career. And we're gonna talk about it when we come back. Jason, how did your grandfather influence your career?
Well, I have played piano for as long as I can remember. Myself. It's not something that I can go back. People ask, did your granddad teach you or inspire you or show you how to play? And he did, but I have never not played the piano. It's just always what I've known and loved. My mom and dad said as soon as I was tall enough to reach the keys, I was picking out.
Did you take lessons or did you just pick it up?
Both. I picked it up from before I started lessons, just playing things by ear. And Granddad obviously helping me along just around the house. I took lessons as a kid from when I was 5 years old till I was 12 or 13. I took classical lessons, got started just like any kid would playing the piano. Although classical music never really stuck with me, and I was probably the frustrating student in that, I'd always liked playing by ear. I would just hear things and pick it out. But when you're in your lessons, you had to play by what's on the book. And I remember I would be playing along with this song, and the teacher would stop me. She was what you think of as a traditional older classical piano teacher. She was great, but she was very strict. And she'd stop me and said, "Now, Jason, where are you on the page?" And I had no idea because I was just playing along with what I'd remembered and what I was sort of making up. And so she caught me, and probably I blame my granddad because he would show me he'd show me the slip note and the different things to play that I would want to sneak into my classical songs. So I peaked on my classical training at about age 9 probably, and then decided that it wasn't for me and still isn't for me. But I'd always heard my granddad play piano, and he had that signature style he called the slip note. And it was where he would, it's a country sound. You would start on one note and slide into the next note. He made the piano sound like...
Now, you're going to do that for us later?
I'll give you a slip note here in a few minutes on if we can get drag the piano in here. But he made the piano sound like what you think of like a steel guitar or a fiddle. You know, on those instruments, you can start on one note and it sort of can slide into a next note, or a fiddle, you can sort of bend up into the next note. With a piano, you only have your 88 keys that you can't bend them or slide them. But he made the piano sound like... It gave it a country sound where he said you hit the wrong note first and you slip to the right note. And that's what I'd always heard. It was just sort of steeped in me from the very beginning. And so that's just sort of the direction that my own playing took. As a kid and as I got older, I always was involved in music in schools. I was in the choirs and in the church, musicals and productions and all that. I went to Belmont University here in Nashville, studied music business because I knew, even after he'd passed away as a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something in music if I could. And so from that point on, graduated from Belmont, and really at that point, put together my own first couple of albums. I, just independently myself, booked a studio and got some friends together and recorded. My first album was a Christmas instrumental album, just because I don't know why, but I thought I always loved Christmas music and did in that style. And then my second one was called Legacy, and I sort of put it as a tribute to the music of my granddad. Recorded Last State and Please Help Me, I'm Falling, and On the Rebound, and a lot of songs, Crazy, that he was a part of and that meant something to his legacy. And it's from that point on that really sort of organically my career began to take shape in bringing new life to that style that he had left behind just years earlier.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your faith and how he shaped that. Yeah,
so, for me, growing up in a family of faith, it was always something that I just had as part of me. It's something for me, faith and family and music have always been intertwined because I always could see what an impact that music would have on people, not just as entertainment, not just as something that brings a smile, but something that just means something so deeply to so many people. And whether it's a song, a gospel song, a hymn, but even when it's not, even when it's a song that just takes people back to a different point in time and a different place in their lives, it just never ceases to amaze me how music can just be a spiritual experience. It can be something that draws you back to your own journey, back to God, back to your own faith in a different way. And so I saw that with my granddad and saw what an impact music had on him and on people's lives. And so for me, no matter whether it's in a church setting when I'm playing or whether it's just at not a gospel concert, but just playing the piano, these songs bring back so many memories that bring people, I think, closer into their own journeys of faith. And it's just, it's humbling to get to sort of be a part of that for myself.
Now, he passed when you were 12. How did that affect your life?
I tell you, looking back at that year, it was 1997, and it was a double whammy for my family, actually, because he passed away after a short battle with cancer. He was diagnosed in April and passed on New Year's Eve of that year, so it was a tough year. For our family, though, my other grandfather, very same year, actually was diagnosed in March and passed away in July. And so So we lost both of my granddads within just a few months of each other at that time. And I look back and of course for my mom and dad and my family and my grandmothers, it was a terrible year. It's one that you wouldn't wish on anybody. And you look back and you think of, God always has a purpose, and God doesn't bring sickness and bring death on. I don't believe in any case, but I do believe you look back and you think you have to have perseverance. You have to be able to have to see life beyond, even when things don't turn out the way you want them to turn out, that there's always a greater purpose. And so I think that even for my grandmothers today, who are both still living and still doing great, gosh, more than 26 years now since they passed, they're both just the rock of our family. And I look at them and think, life didn't turn out, I'm sure, the way they would have wanted it, with both of their sweethearts going so early. Granddad was 64. My other grandfather was 62 when they passed.
Young.
So young. Especially now as I've gotten older myself. But I see my grandmothers even now as just an inspiration for carrying on, even when life doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out. And my grandma says even, every morning she wakes up and sees his picture there and says, I'm still here. And so she still just keeps us smiling, keeps us laughing. And so I look at that just as an inspiration for myself.
And he has really inspired you in your career. And we're going to have you play in a few minutes.
I'd love that, yes.
And we'll be right back. Jason, you always have a smile on your face.
I can't help it. I'm just loving life. I am. And that comes from my family too. My grandma especially, she's always got that smile on her face too.
Well, a couple years were really tough for you, and it changed the direction of your career. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2020, it was a tough time for everybody, of course, as the pandemic sort of shut the world down. And I'd been used to getting out on the road and touring and bringing my music, across the country in concerts, and that obviously didn't happen. And so on a Sunday afternoon, just a couple of weeks in to the March of that year, I decided to just hop on Facebook like a lot of people did and play some songs from our own living room. It was me, my wife, and he was just 3 years old at the time, my son Avery, and we just reached out to folks and said hello and made some connections and played a few requests on a Sunday afternoon and said, well, let's do it again next week and the next week. And so we are now more than 4 years and 100 episodes into what we now call the Jason Coleman Show. And it's a weekly piano concert from our living room, and it's just from our home. Each week is a different concert.
And millions are viewing.
It's been pretty wild to see what it's turned into. We call it our piano family across the country and around the world who tune in week after week and who now are supporting our music and what we do as well. But it's just simple. It's just my family and me. I play a different theme every week that I cover on piano, but it's all in that style of my granddad. It's turned into a WSM radio show here in Nashville, carried on a couple of different streaming outlets, and just like with my granddad, it's amazing for me to see sort of how far the music can reach without even realizing it, and just to look back on what was such a dark time, during that period of disconnection, but it has led to a whole new avenue to reach people through music that's been really pretty remarkable, very humbling.
Well, will you play a song for me?
I would love to. We got the keyboard here anyway, so how about I play for you? This is my granddad's signature song. It's one that he wrote back in 1960. It's called Last Date.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. That song, it's funny, it's one that I think because it's an instrumental song, it means something different to so many different people. People have had it played at their weddings, at funerals, at dances. Everybody has a different memory for
And
that
I'm sure
song.
you play it at every concert.
I can't leave the building without playing it at least once, sometimes twice.
So what's next for you?
It's funny, I just continue to try to follow the path that I feel like God's opening up for me. And that's really been the biggest thing in the last few years especially is just to keep taking what feels like the next step, the next right step. And so that's going to be continuing with our Sunday shows in Sunday afternoons, the Jason Coleman Show, continuing with radio, continuing. It's been good to get out and get to connect with people that we met online and through the show originally and get to meet them in concerts across the country and get back to that. So it's funny, I don't have the big grand plan. I just keep continuing to try to be ready when the door opens, and that door, I feel like God keeps opening the right doors, and I just try to walk through them.
Now, you've been on the Grand Ole Opry.
What
was that like?
Yeah, so it was actually so special. It was New Year's Eve of 2022. It was the 25th anniversary to the day of my granddad's passing, and the Opry invited me to make my debut, and I performed that night on New Year's Eve in honor of Granddad. I got to play Last Date, played a medley of hits that he was a part of alongside Opry legends Jeannie Seeley and Charlie McCoy, who were so wonderful and were friends of my granddad's. And so it was, all of my family was there. My grandma Mary got to be there, my little boy. So we had 4 generations of our family there at the Opry House.
Were you nervous?
I actually was. So at this point, I've played a lot and played forever, and you still get butterflies when you perform. But for the most part, concerts, I don't get super nervous anymore. But I tell you, that night at the Grand Ole Opry, just thinking about the history on that stage and stepping into that circle, it was the most nervous I'd been for a performance in a long time. But looking back, it was just, it was a beautiful night. And so I will always treasure that memory to get to make my debut on that anniversary especially.
I'm sure your granddad was so proud of you.
I feel like he was proud of all his grandkids, no matter what we did, whether it was music or whatever we were a part of. He was proud of his kids and his grandkids, and we were proud of him too.
So you're touring now.
I am.
I saw your schedule. You're very, very busy.
I stay busy. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful to get to do something that I love and call it a career.
If somebody was watching today, what would you encourage them about their passion, their gifts?
Just never give up. Keep doing it. For me, that's been my journey. It's very much a marathon and not a sprint, especially considering whether you make it a career in music or whether it's just something that you love. If it's something that you love and something that's in your heart, don't let anything stop you from doing it, and just let it be a blessing to others too. That's been what I've loved. I like playing music because it's fun and it's it's playing piano.
Did you always know that you were going to play piano? Did you?
I always hoped I would. I mean, I always knew I would play piano. I didn't know if it'd be a career or not, but I knew since I was a kid, looking at my granddad play and just the smiles that he brought to people's faces, I wanted to have that, be able to do that for people as well. And so I have been fortunate to be able to push through and make a career of something that I love.
Jason, will you play one more song to take us out?
I'd be glad to. How about a little bit of one we all know, Amazing Grace?
Jason, thank you so much.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
God bless you.
Same to you.
My friend, always smile as you look past because the Lord is taking you to a new place. This is today's Nashville. This is faith.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.